right, so let's get started, and then if more people hop in, that's okay. They'll catch us and catch up. So thank you for attending today. Our teacher rollout workshop for our electrical SIP 460301. I want to give you a couple little housekeeping pieces before we start, just so that you know how these will work. And then once you've been on one, then you'll have an understanding for the rest. But what we'd like to do is to pause during this to be able to ask and answer questions and to have a little bit of discussion. So when we do that, you can either unmute or you can put your question in the chat. And if we're at a point in the presentation where you have a question right away and we're not to that question slide yet, we'll let you go ahead and put that in the chat and we'll come back to it. We're also going to be chunking this and referring in some of those chunks to some pieces that you got in the Know Before You Go packet. So what you have in the Know Before You Go are some PDFs of some work that's still in draft form, just being firmed up and finalized for the website, but you're going to need that information to be able to understand some of those chunks and pieces that we're talking about today. So I'll try to refer back to some of those, and then our project leads for the grant will also probably speak to some of those as well. So with that, our big objective today is to really dive into the changes for this SIP code and to develop a shared understanding about what exactly changed from Perkins 4 to Perkins 5, and then specifically what vocabulary has changed so that we're all using the same terms and speaking the same language. And then today you'll hear more about the credentials that were identified, and again, those new curriculum documents that are coming. And if I haven't already mentioned it, in those documents, you're not getting everything that our grantees worked on yet. There's a lot of additional supplemental pieces that are coming, but we didn't want to lay it all on you at one time. So you're getting the critical pieces for the next steps, and then we'll be adding in some more supplements and teacher resources as we go through the rollout process. So here's the slide that you'll be looking for when we get to those pause points for questions. Again, if you have questions along the way, throw them in the chat. And that way we'll go back and catch those and try to catch up. So we want to start with a little bit of history. How exactly did we get to this point, and why are we undergoing some of these changes to our SIP code? So as a state, when we moved from Perkins 4 to Perkins 5, when that federal legislation was rewritten, there were some pretty major changes between 4 and 5. And some of those big major changes impacted some of the work that we were doing. So Michigan had standards, and from those standards, we were implementing some technical end of course assessments. But Perkins 5 actually asked us to take a look at a different core performance indicator for program quality, and they gave us a few choices. So our choice as a state was credentials. And so we changed from those standards aligned to assessments to competencies that align to credentials. With that, then we also made the change moving from segments to Perkins courses, or Pccs, we're calling them, and I'll give you a little bit more information about that as we go. And then the other big part of this project was to try to take all of those credentials and those courses and really align to some deeper, richer credit agreements. So taking those articulation agreements that we had and working towards trying to build on those over time so that maybe they're more regional or statewide and definitely transferable. So those are kind of the big three things. Today, we're really going to hit on those first two. So we're going to look at the competencies as they align to credentials and that Perkins course or PCC. And then as we continue to roll this project out over the next year, we'll dig into those credit agreements a little bit more. So you may have seen this before. This was our timeline as we transitioned from Perkins 4 to Perkins 5. And right now, this group is on the start of that first real year of implementation. It's actually year 2 for us as we start in the fall, but it took us a little while to be able to do the work. And so now we're starting with this group of about 7 zip codes. And we will show you what that is. There's a little list on the bottom, but you'll formally see those as well with their names. So I mentioned earlier that we had to change from those technical end of program assessments, and that the federal government gave us a choice about what we picked as our program quality indicator for what used to be 2S1 and now is 5S1. And from that choice, or sorry, for that choice, I guess, we formed an accountability subcommittee and a high quality programs of study subcommittee, and they came together and looked at those choices. And it was a very short list that we got. But as a state, we chose post-secondary recognized credentials. And what those are one of the 5 things that you see on the screen. So it could be a license, a degree, an apprenticeship, or an industry recognized certification or certificate. And the reason that we chose that was because it really aligned with other things that our state was doing. So that post-secondary recognized credential aligned very nicely with the governor's priorities for 60 by 30. And it also aligned in multiple areas to our top 10 strategic plan. And so it was following in the same direction that the rest of our state was going. And we weren't alone. Of all of the states in the nation, as they transitioned from Perkins 4 to Perkins 5, they also had to make the same choice that we did from a very short list of options. And 22 states, or 43% of them, also chose post-secondary recognized credentials. So as we've worked on this, there are other states that are working on the same project. So from that list of 5 that I gave you, the technical title for those is a post-secondary recognized credential. But one of them at the top of that list, if you remember, was an industry recognized credential. And that's just a little bit different. So I wanted to take a minute to talk about what that is and what that isn't, so that as you hear the credentials that were chosen so far for this program area, you'll have an understanding of where they fit. So an industry recognized credential is really a qualification of a specific set of competencies that are related to a particular industry or a particular occupation. So they're recognized in the labor market. A lot of times they're portable across state borders, or there's some sort of reciprocity agreement with other states. They're also a verified assessment of student skills in a particular area. So they're often offered by a third party, and most of them are exam-based, either written, performance, or both. And sometimes they also align nicely with a post-secondary award. Now, in addition to those industry recognized credentials, some states, including us in Michigan, are also identifying what we're calling supplemental credentials. And there is a slight difference between these. So supplemental credentials are recognized by business and industry, but the difference is that they're not specific to one occupation or one occupational area. So they're really good across industries or occupations. A good example of this might be first aid and CPR or OSHA certification, good in multiple areas and very important. So while these don't count for a Perkins Core Performance Indicator by themselves, some of these were recognized by our employer partners and were very important. And so we'll tell you what those are as related to your program area, in addition to the credentials that count for that indicator. So altogether, including your zip code, we have 7 different zip codes that are undergoing this work this year. So you can see the list on your screen. 5 of them were grant projects, and then 2 were not grant projects, but were programs that were going through some curriculum updates, and so they did some parallel work at the same time. So you're the first of all of our rollouts, but the rest of these will occur this week and next week. So within your building, you may have other folks in other program areas that are also doing some of the same work and going through some of the same transition that you are. So to inform this work, we really needed statewide representation. So our grantees who were awarded the project had to look across the state and pull in employers and other stakeholders from every area of the state. So what you'll see here are grantees working out of Genesee and then Shiawassee County. They led the project. In fact, Diana Allard and Charmaine that are on this call and Susan Carlson were our main project folks that worked on this. So they were experts in this area and led this work. They pulled in this list of stakeholders, and I'll tell you this probably isn't all of them because I know that as our grantees work, they pulled in more and more folks to get their input into the work. And then in that little map, you'll see where some of the teachers came from who participated in this as well. So their project was really to take two things, the current standards that we have in our gap analysis document and credentials that employers thought were very valuable and that they either required or preferred for hiring, and to take those and try to find an alignment between them. Now, at the same time, they also looked at our standards, and you know that list is pretty long. And so they started to group them together into standards that were alike to create competencies that also aligned with those credentials. From there, then they developed the Pccs, or the Perkins courses, that we'll be using for reporting instead of segments. And then they also did some additional work. And I want to show you kind of where we're at today. So today we're talking about those things that I just described with the star. But moving forward, they also had to look at academic credit alignments and how students might be granted Michigan Merit Flexibility for your program based on the standards in your program and how they aligned to academic standards. So they'll have those recommendations that will be forthcoming. Then they looked at a high quality program of study. So they looked at what would students experience in work-based learning and what are some best practices? What are some entry and exit points? How do you take something like a credential that you would get in this area and then move into industry? Or where do you hop off and maybe have an entry-level job, and where do you hop back on if you want further training? So they looked at those pieces as well. Then they worked with post-secondary partners, some of whom you saw on the list a couple of slides ago, and started looking at those credit agreements. What is already in place and how do we expand upon that so that we can grow those and we can grow them across the state? So those things will all be forthcoming as we continue to roll this out. So I'm going to pause for questions for a minute and find out what questions do you have about this initial process and what it entailed before we really dive into, kind of the meat and potatoes of your particular zip code. I'm checking the chat and I don't see anything yet, but if you do have a question as we go and you think of one, please throw it in there so that we can answer it for you. So now we're going to talk about the things that you really want to know, that credential identification. So I talked about those supplemental credentials just a little bit earlier. When our grantees talked with employers, regardless of the zip code in the program area, there were some things that we really heard loud and clear. That one of the things students really needed were some of those supplementals, and it made them highly employable and highly competitive just from having those in addition to their technical training. So those supplemental credentials in particular were first aid and CPR and OSHA. And then there's also another supplemental credential, and I'm going to allow our grantees to talk about that one because it's very specific to kind of your area that they'll mention as well. So again, these alone don't necessarily count for your core performance indicator for Perkins. But if you're offering one of these, you want to make sure that students really highlight that in their portfolio or on their application or in their resume for employers, because they were highly valued. And if you're not offering one of these credentials would be a great idea to add for students to continue to make them competitive. Now, as our folks walked through this process, one of their first jobs, remember, was to reach out to employers and say, what do you value? What's important? What do you require, or what do you really prefer when you're hiring someone? And that was one of the first questions that we started with in this approval process. So once the employer identified those things, then they went back and started looking at how that credential aligned both to our current standards and then how that aligned to the jobs that they were seeing posted out there. So they went through that process as part of the approval process and then submitted those to a review board to make sure that those credentials were really meeting the definition of the Perkins 5 post-secondary recognized credential. So from here, I want to turn this over to our grantees to talk about what those credentials were and specifically what they heard from employers and kind of explain these credentials that are on your list. I don't know if that's Diana or Charmaine or Susan, but I'll pass it over to all of you.
Thank you, Selena. I'll start, and if I miss anything, I'll let my group hang on. First, I want to say thank you naturally to Charmaine and Susan, Selena and Lee, and the whole group at OCTE. This has been quite a process. I think we're doing well by our teachers and post-secondary partners, along with our students, in the work that we're doing. So we're really excited to see something come out of this, and these pathways in particular that have not had a way for students to say, here's what I know, here's what I can do to make it a little easier for employers. So when we started this, as Selena mentioned, what we did was essentially a survey to our employers asking, what are the kind of certifications that you look for in an entry-level employment? And electrical, and I have construction too, but these two pathways are a little difficult because most students need to be 18 in order to actually work in these fields. So they gave us a number of pieces that would not work for an 18-year-old, but resoundingly, they came back to this NCCER core and electrical level 1 as being something that would show both their technical skills and their understanding of a lot of the codes that you find in electrical and that vocabulary that they really needed to have to start. So that is what we landed on based on that survey. And as Selena already mentioned, you know, they also impressed on us the OSHA and the CPR and the first aid as being particularly helpful with electrical, especially with the level of electricity. And naturally, unfortunately, sometimes that might mean a little shock. And so these students having some basic understanding of how to help someone in that situation was very employable. We, in this program area, this is the one that landed, like I said, at the top of the list. And really, there weren't a whole lot of other ones that covered a first year or a program in electrical. However, I do want to say that as this program evolves and as we continue to work through this, there will be a process if someone finds a certification that we can add to this collection, if you will, through a process of career pathway grants. So I think that's good news. Some of this is maybe we'll find something additional that'll help students in another area. And that'll go through an approval process through the career pathway grants. I think that's really good news. We can be a little flexible on that. The other thing that I really want to emphasize is that, you know, when we looked at these standards that did not change, they're the same standards you've been teaching for years. We worked hard to align those standards naturally to the certifications that made the most sense. So we were pleased to find that what was being recommended was very closely aligned to the things that we already teach. So there's not additional work for teachers to do in order to gain this credential. However, there are units of study that aren't necessarily covered, like we would refer to them as units of study. There's gaps between this certification and then what we teach in a traditional standard aligned electrical program. So I want to mention one of the ways that we fill that gap where I work. So I'm from the Genesee Intermediate School District, if you weren't aware, and the building that we operate with an electrical program, the only one in my county, is Genesee Career Institute. So what we've done in order to fill that gap is we've worked with multi-core craft curriculum. It's called MC3. That's a supplemental. I think the word is supplemental credential. But it fills that unit of study for us, especially in diversity. It talks a lot about team building and diversity, and it helps students understand, especially some of these are non-traditional for a lot of our students' career pathways, and we want to make sure that they're comfortable in the work environment and they're prepared as best as possible. So that's the one that we found that works the best. The other nice thing about this is that it does give a direct interview when a student has an MC3 credential. It does give them as a direct interview with the trade organizations. So they value it on that end too. Now, it doesn't guarantee them a job, but at least gives them an interview. And then you combine that with the core and electrical certifications and the OSHA and the first aid and CPR, and you've got a really well-rounded student. Selena, is there, I think, it's been quite a process. I know it's hard because there aren't as many electrical programs across the state as there are construction trades. So part of what we were working really hard to do is make sure we were getting a lot of voices across the state. And some of that came from the union end, and we were able to get some of the non-union individuals so that we had a nice mix for our students, depending on where they were graduating from.
Thank you. That's perfect. So you'll see those credentials on the screen. And one of the things that Diana alluded to is, what if there's others? And we know that while our grantees did an amazing job, there's only so much that you can do in a period of time. And we don't know what else might be out there, or might be even something that's very important regionally that isn't on the list. So she spoke to this a little bit, but if you have a credential that you think, gosh, I wonder why that wasn't chosen, why isn't my credential on the list? There is going to be a process to be able to add credentials to the list. And again, the ones that you see here from the NCCER were a really nice alignment. And so our grantees were able to show us how well, in most cases, they aligned. Well, they didn't completely cover everything. And we'll show you how to be able to see what aligns in those documents that you received as well. There's a little bit of a coding system in there so that you can see that alignment too. So I do want to pause and find out if there are any questions about the credentials. If it's something that maybe you're unfamiliar with, or you have questions about exactly how they were chosen or what employers might have said, I want to give you the opportunity to ask that, and for our grantees to give you more information.
Hi, Selena, this is Mindy. I'm wondering if she can speak to the accreditation process and training process that will be required for instructors in order to grant the certification.
I think I caught that. Mindy, did you catch that as well, Diana? The accreditation process to be able to offer and award the credential, is that right?
Yeah, and the training process for instructors.
So we are one of those accredited institutions. So we didn't really, we will have to share that information as part of what we do. NCCER offers a training course. Our instructors have done it over the summer. So, the other piece of it is we talked to some places where the local training, the union apprentice training place, they would come over and test the kids. So the teachers could deliver the curriculum. However, they couldn't actually, go through the certification with them. So they would serve as their accrediting body. So that may be something that might work in your area. But that's a good point. We should include, I know we're going to be creating a tip sheet on how to actually utilize this curriculum, and that'll be one of the things that we'll make sure we include. So thank you for that.
Thank you. I look forward to that document.
And Diana, that was perfect. I was taking mad notes like, oh my goodness, that's something we need to make sure that we put out with that tip sheet. So we were thinking just alike. Any other questions about the credentials so far?
Yeah, I have one more. It's Mindy again. Is like when you talk about the health pathway, I believe the earning of a credential was actually tied to a PCC. And I'm wondering if that's the case here in the electrical set.
I think, and I'll let Diana and Charmaine and Susan touch on this as well, but I think the setup for this particular SIP code is a little bit different. In the health pathway, what we saw was that there were a lot of foundational skills. And if any of you are going to be, listening to that in the future and you weren't part of that, you'll hear this again coming up. But I think that there were a lot, their initial PCCs were all foundational skills. And then the credential was really an additional PCC. In this case, I think that the credential aligns with those PCCs as the student is taking them. And we'll be able to show you that, I think, in the documents that you have as well. But Diana, do you want to add to that?
I will let Susan if she has anything, but my thinking here when we did the work with this one, that's why it's got core plus electrical 1. So a PCC may be core as part of the first year class. And then the second is the electrical 1 for the other PCC, but combined, those two would be required in order to have the end of the year technical skill, or excuse me, the industry recognized credential met for our CPI. Susan, can you clarify that for me?
Yes, students will actually, when they complete the core, they will receive a credential for core, which is required to move on to the electrical 1 and electrical 2. They will get a credential, a wallet card for each of those. So it can be chunked off that as students go through, they will get a core credential wallet card, then they will get the electrical 1. If they return for a second year or possibly third, then there are opportunities for additional modules that teachers can be trained for and then have the ability to assess and provide the credential for an electrical 3 or 2 and 3, which cover the rest of the state standards that are in those gap things that we know that the standards still need to be covered. So depending on the student and the training of the teacher, they would be able then to give those additional credentials. They would be able to assess the students and document their completion.
Okay, I just want to be.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Mindy.
No, I just want to make sure I understand that there's a credential after earning core and a credential after earning level 1, but that would only be if you are an accredited institution with the master training teacher, or you go to another testing site to earn the credential. I mean, the credential isn't a sit and get, right?
Correct.
Okay.
It's a combination of those things. The teacher then, once they go through the training, and that is in the tip sheets that will be provided, actually for all the credentials and all the pathways, there are tip sheets of actually how the teacher can go about being trained. And I know some of the training actually takes place in Ann Arbor, and it's over a 2-day period. And the teacher goes through and completes those training units. That is for NCCER. If there are other credentials that may have to go to someone else or have someone else come in and assess the students. But once the teacher actually goes through themselves the training and becomes a provider of training through NCCER, they will be able to give the assessment and apply for the credential per student themselves.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And as we dig into some of those documents, if all of you, if you continue to have questions, or if then that gives you an aha moment, let us know as well. I think you'll see this group did a really fantastic job with kind of coding the documents in such a way that it helps you, or it helps us maybe explain to teachers what is covered and what isn't, and how those things work. So, so hopefully you'll be able to see that as we move forward. So now that we've kind of identified those credentials, I really want to move into how do the standards that we have for the program transition to competencies, so that you have a better understanding of how that process works. So to do that, we really have to make sure that we're speaking the same language and using the same vocabulary. So a competency is really the possession of skills or the capacity for skills. And in school, we typically call this being proficient. In the workplace, we say it's, having what it takes to get the job done. So essentially, a competence is something that is able to be demonstrated. They're also explicit, they're measurable, and they include both that foundational knowledge and dispositions, as well as the ability to perform those. So typically in our traditional school system, we think about working with standards and we work on a pacing system, right? So we have a certain amount of time to fit in all of these different standards, even though we know that sometimes students learn things at different paces and they demonstrate them in different ways. So we would never think of, and it's very appropriate for this group, we would never think of building a house and not laying a foundation and making sure that it was firm and complete. If we were building a house and our mason came in and we said, you've got 3 weeks to learn this material, and what you get done is what you get done, and they were able to do a portion of the project, we wouldn't dream of then putting on the first floor and putting a time frame on that and then putting on the floor. Because if the foundation wasn't solid, nothing would stand up. And yet sometimes that's what happens to our students. Now in CTE, we really have an advantage because we tend to think about the performance and the application aspect of this. And so we tend to veer closer to more of a competency-based model. But the pacing and the delivery isn't the only thing that's different about a competency-based model. The other thing that's different is what it actually tells people. So our traditional grading system, which we know is not going to change, really doesn't tell our post-secondary partners and our employers a lot of information. They don't know just by looking at that house what the foundation looks like. And as you can see on this slide, what happens is that we put a letter grade out there. But if you look in that middle column, you can see for each of these 5 students that there's something different that makes up that letter grade for each of them, even though the end result looks the same. So let's say we look at Christian. He's got some late homework, some zeros. His final grade is a C. We don't know what he didn't do or doesn't know based on those zeros. We just think that he's got an average understanding of the content. If we look at the bottom at Oscar, here's a student who probably shows really great initiative. He's a really hard worker. He's doing all of the extra credit that he can to boost his grade. But if you look at his test grade or his assessment grade, those are D's and F's. And if those assessments are really critical skills, then he actually looks like he knows more than what he does. Might be a great employee and have great work ethic, but we don't really know that he knows the skills. And that's the beauty of a competency-based model and aligning competencies to a credential. Because for our employers and our post-secondary partners, that credential really validates what a student knows, and it helps us in education speak the same language as our partners. So As we talk about that movement from standards to competencies and aligning those competencies to credentials, I think it's important for us to go back and think about how were these things created? Because our standards aren't going to go away. Those really are the foundation of our house. That's what everything is built upon. So our standards are going to stay. We're just going to use them in a different way. And sometimes as teachers, we don't understand where those standards all came from. We just know that they're in a gap analysis document and there's lots of them and they're color coded differently. So I want to kind of explain how that system works so that you have a good foundational knowledge of that. And then you can see how our grantees took those and created competencies. So our standards come from 4 different areas. And these 4 areas are on the left-hand side of your screen. Now, our technical standards, which are really those occupational skill standards, they tend to come from national organizations, or sometimes they came from licensing and credentialing agencies already. So in this case, a lot of our standards were already based on NCCER, which is why there is such nice alignment between them. And then in the GAP document, we had our cluster and our pathway standards. And nationally, cluster and pathway standards are determined for each zip code. So there's kind of an alignment chart that shows you where your program fits into that model. And there are 16 clusters. So every program is identifying with one of those 16. In Michigan, we do have a 17th cluster for energy. And then there are 79 different pathways. So your program is aligned with a cluster and then with one of those 79 pathways. And that makes up some of the other standards. And they're a little bit more general that are in your gap analysis document. And the reason that they're more general is because they really are applicable across occupational areas within that cluster or pathway. And then finally, there are career-ready practices. And these were also created on a national level. There was a group that got together that really looked at what do students have to know and what kind of dispositions do they have to be employable and to really be career ready. So from there, they created 12 career-ready practices. And then you can see just in this little snippet on your screen, they described what those are, and they identified some of the things that you might see if a student is career ready. And you'll get a copy of this PowerPoint, so you'll also have the link to be able to go in and see those things. So from those career ready practices, our CCDA group took those, and because they're common across every program that we have in Michigan, they created competencies from those 12. So you'll really be looking at 4 competencies for career-ready practices. And then now those will become part of your competency list as well. So again, I just want to show you where these things are if you're thinking about the gap analysis document that you're familiar with. So if you look here, you can see on the gap, and this happens to be a health science gap, but it is the same for you as well. These columns over on the very left-hand side kind of told you if it was a foundational knowledge, if it was some skill or performance element. And our groups took a look at these and they started to identify how these informed a competency. So what they did is they looked at either what the credential said was important and what was tested on the credential, or they talked to program instructors and said, what's really important? What should students come out with from this program? What do they need to know and be able to do to be successful? And those became our big ideas kind of at the top of that triangle. Then from there, they dug into those standards and they started looking at things in this knowledge and skill area. This knowledge and skill area informed the things that really were our content standards. That's how they identified those. And again, if you look at the gap, those are usually things in a particular column on the gap. From there, they said, okay, if this is the big idea, this is what students need to really be able to demonstrate and know, and this is what they have to know to be able to do that, How will we know if they know it? And those things became performance indicators. And sometimes they could lift these right off of the gap analysis document from one of these two columns here. Another way to think about this is if you are familiar with Bloom's taxonomy, the process that we use in the way that we identified some of those elements of a competency are based on that Bloom's taxonomy scale. So this doesn't list the exact titles for Bloom's, the knowledge, comprehension, application, analysis, and all of that, but it does give you a better idea in layman's terms about how these are structured. So our content standards, what people need to know and understand, are really down here at lower level Bloom's. So when you see a content standard, it usually says know, understand, recall, identify. This is our foundational knowledge. Then from there, you will see the performance indicators. These are things that a student does that lets you know that they understand and can apply that knowledge. And from there, when they can do it across skill areas, or they can do it multiple times and in different ways, that kind of becomes the big idea or the competency. So I also want to show you this in a different way. This is what it looks like when we pulled this from our standard area. So this is how our grantees kind of developed this. You see on the left-hand side are 4 areas that we pulled standards from. From there, they took all of the standards from those 4 areas that were alike, or what we'd call maybe naturally sticky, and they put them together, and then they created a competency that described what a student could do with those things. And so I want to show you what that looks like potentially for your program area. So here's a competency that came out of electrical, being able to implement personal and job site safety rules and regulations to really maintain that safe and healthy work environment. That's one of the competencies for electrical. To get to that, they looked at your technical standards, and here were some of your technical standards. They looked at your cluster and pathway standards, and here were some of those. And they looked at your career ready practices, and here was a career ready practice that said almost the same thing. So you can see that these are either very alike or they're very related to each other. So instead of having to identify how a student is doing in each of these standards now, you'll be able to look at it as one overarching competency. And again, just to reiterate, this all came from the current gap analysis document. So those things that you've been teaching aren't changing. We're just looking at them in a different way. And here again is your competency and where it came from. Now, the beauty of a competency is that a student can demonstrate the achievement of this competency in multiple ways. And that's what really gives us flexibility in our system and helps us when we think about it in terms of that house and the foundation. You have some students that could build that foundation and put it in those weeks, and they're good to go and they're ready to move to the next step. But you have other students that need a little bit more time, or they need to be able to demonstrate this in a different way. Or in some of our programs, we have students who are looking at different credentials, and so they're attaining the same competency, but with a different end result in mind. And we call those things, those indicators that they're giving you that they've achieved that competency and mastered it, a performance indicator. And that's really the differentiation that we have for our students, is in those performance indicators. So you can see, here's your competency again, implementing personal and job site safety, but it's seen in different credentials in different ways. So in OSHA, it's seen as implementing safety precautions and understanding those hazards. In the core, it's being able to use the knowledge of CPR and PPE and assessing those workplace conditions. And then in level 1, it's actually using some of that safety equipment. So students are hitting that same competency, they're just demonstrating it in different ways. So to kind of wrap that up for you, here's what it really looks like. We take our 4 areas that our standards come from, which are not changing. We grouped the things together that were alike or that naturally fit together, and we created a competency. And then those competencies are aligned to the credentials that our grantees identified. And there's different ways sometimes under each of those credentials that a student can show you that they've met the competency, or they can verify for an employer or someone else that they've met it. So I want to show you what that list of competencies looks like. And you should have this in a PDF form in your Know Before You Go packet. And when you get the actual version of this, it will be in a document on the website that will, in a sense, kind of replace your gap analysis. There'll be multiple tabs with multiple resources for you to use. And so you'll see here are some of the different areas, kind of those big overarching content areas. And we'll show you in a minute how those align in some of your other documents that you have to address for students in your program. If you see a competency that's in italics, that means it aligns to multiple areas. So for example, identifying basic concepts of advanced electrical theory is part of safety, health, and environment. It's also something that you do as part of those technical skills when you work with students. So this is your competency list. If you are a more seasoned teacher and you've been teaching this for a little while and you're very familiar with your curriculum, in the future, this might be one of the only resources that you really need to use as you're designing curriculum. But we also will have for you some of those deeper alignment documents in the future, so that if you're not a well-seasoned teacher and you want to dig in a little further, or you're doing some curriculum work, you're talking with your advisory committee, maybe you're even looking at some resources and some different support materials, and you really want to dig into a competency, you'll be able to see the alignment between the competency and then our standards. So those will be provided for you as well. So I want to pause and find out, what questions do you have so far about that transition from standards to competencies, and then the competency list that we gave you? Well, I know this could potentially mean that we did a fabulous job explaining it, but I think more than likely it's because we just hit you with a ton of information and you need some processing time. So I am going to show you at the end of our presentation where to go if you have questions, after you really have a chance to dig in. But feel free again to put things in the chat if you think of it as you go. And again, you have these documents in draft PDF form so that you can really look at them and dig in. And then we're going to be polishing them up and making them website ready in the next few weeks, so that you'll be able to see them where your gap analysis documents are currently residing on the website. So then let's talk about the next step of this. You've seen that list of competencies, but now what does that mean for your Pccs or your courses that you're going to have? So our grantees first created those competencies, and a competency is really a big idea, right, from your program. And then just like they took standards that were kind of naturally sticky or went together and made sense together and put them together to create a competency, they did the same thing with competencies to create a PCC or Perkins course for reporting purposes. So in the past, you had standards that then were grouped together under segments, and that's how you reported. Now you have competencies, and some of those are grouped together, and they're reported under what we're calling a PCC, or Perkins Course Competency Set. And when they did this, they looked at how long might it take to actually teach students some of these things. And they looked at it in terms of 80-hour chunks or increments. Now, that doesn't mean that that's what you have to do, but as we designed this, we wanted to make sure that we didn't have one program that took 200 hours and another that took 50, because that would make scheduling at the local level really difficult, right? So they wanted to keep them somewhat equal. Also knowing that sometimes you have a competency that takes a long time to get at and to understand and teach, and sometimes you have a competency that doesn't take nearly as much time. So each PCC is going to have different numbers of competencies in them as well, because we understand that time can be a factor. You'll also see, and I think you can see that from your competency list, that there are things that overlap and are repetitive or that touch each other. And so this graphic kind of helps us to introduce that idea that some of those big ideas really don't sit in isolation. They overlap each other in different ways. And that's what makes a really good comprehensive program and helps students to be able to connect those ideas to each other so that they're not looking at things in isolation. So you have this document as well. It just looks a little bit larger for you. And I'll show you that in more detail because I understand that this is really big. But here are the PCCs that were developed for your program. So there are 4. And I want you to think of PCC D as our segment Q. It's something above and beyond, it's advanced content, or it's appropriate work-based learning. So really, your competencies fall into 3 PCCs. And you'll see here the competency written out, and then you'll also see how it connects to the segments you're familiar with, so that you can kind of start to wrap your mind around how that looks a little bit different. But again, if you were teaching safety tools and electrical theory before, now you can see all of the competencies that that touches. Now, on the key that you have in between those 2 columns that you can see that are a little bit blurry here on my screen, you have information that shows you how those competencies now align to the credentials that were identified. And this is what Diana and Susan were speaking to before when they said they really did that alignment and looked at if you're teaching that particular credential, how it fits and maybe where it doesn't. So for PCC 1, you'll see that same competency that I lifted about implementing personal and job site safety aligns to OSHA, which is one of your supplementals, and then it aligns to the core and electrical 1. It also could align to an apprenticeship. And if you're teaching the MC3, which is another supplemental in this case, but one highly valued by employers, it's in italics, which tells you that it does not align there. And so you may have to do some of your own work and create your own kind of module or unit of study in that area. So on this document that you have, that full page, anytime you see something italicized, it means that you have to create your own unit of study. And that's listed up here. Now, the other thing for you that you'll see on my screen and that you'll see on your document is that there are some competency codes down the left-hand side. And this is what we'll be using for reporting purposes. And I'll show you that here in a second. So here is PCC A. And you'll notice this looks a little bit bigger. And again, it's based on that same, idea of time, but there are more competencies in here than there are in the next few that I'm going to show you. And that's because these probably take a little bit longer to teach this competency. So here is PCC B. I'll give you a minute just to look at that, but I know you also have your own copy that's probably easier to read. And here is PCC-C. And then D is really that advanced content. So think of this as your segment Q. If you have a student that's coming back to dig in even deeper, if you're putting them out on the work site, that would be D. And Mindy has a great question here. How will the transition to PCCs and or competencies impact a student's ability to participate in work-based learning at an employer? And Mindy, we're going to come out with some more information about work-based learning and some of that alignment, and that should really help. In general, because we're looking at the continuum, you want to make sure that that student still has enough content knowledge and skill to be able to put them out there with the employer, but it all depends on what that placement is like. So some of the work that this grant group has done that we aren't able to share today due to time, but that we'll be sharing in the future, will be helping you to see what some of those placements could look like. So we'll try to make sure that we provide more of that. And we actually are going to take the questions from these rollouts, because those are really good questions that you have. And we'll make sure that we also put them in a Q&A document that we can put out there that's helpful as well. So now that I've shown you those PCCs, I want to talk just a little bit about what this looks in practical terms, or sorry, what this looks like in practical terms, because we've kind of defined courses. And as a local district and a local teacher, you have the ability to determine if you want to follow those courses as they're outlined, or if you want to structure your program a little bit differently. And I want to show you two ways that that can be done in very general terms. And then we're going to dig into this later this summer when we talk instructional design. So in general terms, here is, and I'm hoping you can see my mouse on the screen, PCCA, you know, that looks like if you set up your local course and you said, I'm going to teach all of A at one time, because it just makes sense. It's the foundational safety pieces. That's what, you know, that's what I'm going to put together. Students need to know all of that before I get them to all of the work with circuits and conductors and such. And then B might follow PCCB. You have the ability to do that, to take it exactly as it's written and structure it that way. Much like when we were working in segments, if you said, you know what, I'm teaching segment 1, all of it, and then I'm moving to segment 2 and I'm teaching all of it, and then I'm moving to segment 3 and I'm teaching all of it, because that's how it makes sense for me in my program. You don't, however, have to do those things exactly in order. So think about this as if you were a driver's training instructor and you're teaching students how to drive. It might be that if we compare our PCC to areas of driver's training, that you say, you know what, in my driver's training course in segment 1, I'm going to teach traffic laws. Students really need to know traffic laws before they know anything else. So I'm going to teach traffic laws first. And once we finish that, then I'm going to move on to the next area. But you'll see, if this were a PCC, PCCB would be parking skills. And I've decided in my district, I'm really not ready to do parking skills yet, because I have found, like me and my advisory committee have had discussions about how students really aren't ready for that until they talk about signs and pavement markings. So I'm going to teach that entire PCC next. And then we'll move to parking, and then we'll talk driving as we move into segment 2. That might be how you set that up. So that would be one way. The other way that you can do this is more of an integrated model. So again, we've got PCC A, B, and C, and you might say, you know what, I really would like to pull some competencies from each of those PCCs and deliver them in a group together, because that's what works for my area. That works for my employers, it works for the resources that I have, and that's the advice that my advisory committee is giving me. And that's also okay. Think of this as kind of that integrated model that you see in academics. So the first example that I gave was if you teach biology and then chemistry and then physics. This example is I teach integrated science A, integrated science B, and integrated science C, where I'm pulling a little bit of biology, physical science, chemistry, and physics all together into an integrated course. And that's also okay. So if we think about our driver's training program, it might be that you have limited resources and you've got to get kids out in vehicles right away or you don't have enough time. So you might teach the traffic laws related to, initially parking and moving a car. And then you might teach the signs and pavement markings that go along with that. And then you teach those parking skills. So they're not really ready to drive down the road yet, but you're at least getting them in a vehicle and they learn how to move it and maneuver it. And then in course B, then you tackle, let's drive around the parking lot and practice some basic driving and drive downtown. And then C might be, let's tackle highway driving and the things that you're going to see there. Again, in your district, you have the ability to decide what is best for you. When you report this, you're going to be reporting these competencies in CEDIS now as competencies instead of as segments. So you'll be reporting individual competencies and how they align with your individual course. So once a student completes all of the competencies in a PCC, then they'll be marked off as having completed that particular PCC. Now, this slide also shows you that reporting for competencies is going to start this coming fall. So to support you, we have some sessions coming that I'm going to tell you about in just a bit to help you make that transition from segments to competencies. Whether you want to keep the model that you currently have and you like your instructional design, you just need to know how to change your reporting structure, or whether you want to consider something a little bit different based on what you see. And either one of those is okay. And then the new credentials that we showed you today will be added to the approved list in CEDIS starting in the fall. But we do know it takes some time to be able to implement those. And so they'll be there in the fall of 2021 if you're ready to report them. If you're not, then you'll be able to report them in the fall of 22. So that was a lot of info. I want to pause again for questions and make sure that we answer your questions about what those PCCs look like, and then we'll talk about further implementation. And I do see a quick question about the know before you go. If you did miss it and you didn't see that from Julie, I believe we'll be sending those materials out again in the after you've gone, or we can make sure that you get them. So just let us know if for some reason you can't locate those, and we'll make sure that you have them. Because that really does help to be able to see those things and dig in a little bit. And Julie did weigh in and say sometimes they end up in other folders. Definitely check your spam. Once in a while they end up there. So.
Hey, Selena, this is Mindy again. When we do the gap analysis, will we be doing the gap analysis with the competencies, or will we be doing a gap analysis using the old form since the standards are not changing?
Oh, Mindy had a great question. So will you be doing the gap analysis with the competencies or with the old form since the standards aren't changing? And the answer is you won't have to do a gap analysis document anymore. So for those programs who are going through this Perkins 5 process, they will no longer have to do a gap analysis. You'll still have the ability locally to be able to do that if that's something that you want to do, because we do know sometimes that's important. you know, when teachers are evaluating their own teaching practices and looking at their curriculum, but it's not something that we're going to ask for anymore at OCTE. So we're providing you as many alignment tools as we can to be able to use, but teachers will no longer have to go in and look at to what level they teach those, because they're going to be aligning those with a credential, and that credential really validates for them and for students, you know, if they hit that to the appropriate level. So, so they won't have to do that anymore. You're welcome. Well, all right, let's talk implementation really quick, and next steps so that you have a chance to ask any other questions that you might have. So we do know that this takes time, right, to plan and to prepare for. And it's May, and we're giving you this information and saying, hey, guess what? You know, now you're going to report my competencies in the fall. So, you know, our timeline was disrupted a little bit by the pandemic, and we want to make sure that we provide you the support that you need and that we walk through this in some baby steps, because it can be a really big change depending on what your program needs to do to be able to implement. So in general, and this is a slide that was shared with your CPID directors, but in general, we think that teachers and programs fall in a few different areas. First, and at the top, you might already be offering the credential, in which case, if you're already offering the credential, what you really need is probably more support in that reporting area. How to transition from from standards to competencies or segments to competencies, and what to do there. And so we'll be providing some of that support for you. If you're not offering the credential, it could be that you're qualified, but you just haven't offered it for one reason or another, or that you need more training to become qualified to teach that, or you need to make some adjustments to your program. In either of those cases, we know that it's probably a phased in approach that you need to take to be able to do that. And from May until, you know, August or September might not be enough time. So what we recommend is that you go back and look at where you're at in this process and think about what do you need to be able to implement that credential, and then work with your CTE administrator to develop a plan and some next steps to be able to do that. There is also the possibility that you say, you know what, I'm not qualified to teach this, or it doesn't align with what my advisory committee is really recommending, and I really wish credential XYZ were on the list. And in that case, we're going to be coming out this summer with an enhancement grant, and you'll be able to apply for an enhancement grant to take the credential that you believe should be added, align it to the competencies and the Pccs that have been identified, and look at the employer support behind it and propose that as a credential that's added to the list. So that will be coming as well. So to kind of assess where everyone is at and to figure out on both a state and a local level how we can help you, we're sending out after this workshop a credential readiness survey. And what that will do is ask you as a teacher where you're at in the process and what you need. From there, as a state, we're going to look at the data that we get for your particular zip code and then determine what can we provide or what resources can we provide to be able to help you. And that will help us, you know, help you with those next steps. We're also taking that information and passing them along to your CTE administrators so that if there are things that they can do locally to support you, they know what those things are as well. So when you get done with this workshop today, you're actually going to get two surveys. One that asks you to assess the workshop itself, you know, as a professional development experience, and then the credential readiness survey. So I know that's two things, but we're asking that you do both so that we can provide you with as much support as we can. Now, the other thing that we're doing is we're providing some more sessions because we know that there are going to be questions. You know, we give all of this to you and it's a lot to digest at one time. So we know that there's the potential, once you really dig into these documents, to have questions about that. So we're offering 3 Q&A sessions this summer. And they're at different times on different dates because we weren't sure when folks were going to be done with school and what your vacation schedule looked like. So you can attend all 3 if you want. If you have no questions, you don't have to attend at all. Or what we really designed it for was so that you could pick the one that best fits your schedule, and there'll be no formal agenda. You'll hop into a Zoom meeting, you'll meet with your consultant in a breakout room, and you'll be able to have open dialogue and question and answer and talk about the documents and the credentials and get the help that you need and get your questions answered. Beyond that, we know that one of the big needs is probably moving from segments to competencies and looking at that reporting. So we've also designed 2 workshops around instructional design for you. Again, both the same thing. So you really only, need to come to one if you need help with that. But we knew that, end of July and beginning of August, right before school starts, is a great time for one last getaway. And we wanted to make sure that we didn't leave anyone out. So 2 different sessions, come to one or the other if you need support. And what we'll help you do, we'll have a document for you that will show you the alignment between the old segments again and standards and the new competencies and Pccs. So we'll help you look at what you were doing, and if you like it, how to transition into the new reporting. And if you didn't particularly love it and you want to make some changes, what that could potentially look like in a few different ways, so that then you know how to report and how to move forward. Also, if you're in the midst of a 2-year program or a 3-year program where you have students who have been completing segments and have been reported under segments, and now they're in the middle and we'll make that transition to competencies, we'll show you what that looks like as well, so that you can see how that movement's going to happen so that you don't miss out on identifying your concentrators and completers. So finally, if there are more questions beyond our time today, this is the email address that you can use to email us with those questions, and we'll reach out and get back with you. We'll also add these into our Q&A session so that we can give everyone the answers as well. So you can reach us at the Career Pathway email address.